Good morning. It's been a while since I've done a post because our phones have been not working for a while, and our home phones were also not working, and then our internet was knocked out in one of the storms that we had here, and then we just haven't had technology for a while. So we're back. We finally spent enough time at one of the cell phone places and then hours on the phone with providers to switch them over so that hopefully we have good working service now. So this is kind of not an unfamiliar scene of our sheep getting out. Come on, Gus. Gussie, no! So, come on, girls! Come on! So, they got out today, so we're bringing them back. And, update on the sheep, because I figure it's been a while since we've updated anything. Just tap it, babe. Say, Gussie, leave him alone. Gus isn't always in with the sheep. So I'll give you a few updates. The sheep are doing well overall. We're currently rotating them along our fence line. And you can see that some of our girls never fully shed off those winter coats like they should have. So we are planning on shearing them, even though they're not supposed to need it. Like, so these are here sheep. Yes, I'll come out. So they're all doing well. Their babies are doing great. We're kind of at a system now where we're using 2 of our 100-foot electric netting fences, and most of the time that works pretty good, right, Sean?
Yeah.
And
once in a while I think the babies knock it down.
Yeah, we think the babies, because they're so jumpy and like they still aren't quite as trained as their moms are to the fence, and so they'll like bump into it. And if we don't have the posts like on the side to hold it more securely, they'll knock down one of the posts and then everybody kind of gets out. So it kind of made sense that they were getting out today, because on Sundays we don't move them. We let them have one extra day where they are. And they just came from all along this area, and they are running behind our cows. And so we currently we started out with 10 sheep, and we have Katahdin Dorper, and they are hair sheep, which are supposed to shed off their hair completely themselves. As you can see, these particular ones did not. But overall, they've been pretty healthy. And so we did lose, we got a male ram that is a Katahdin Florida cracker mix. He has Hopping Brothers genetics, and so they're kind of known within a certain community for being like really hardy, parasite resistant, just great sheep. And so we specifically chose him. Let's see if I can, he's kind of in the middle of this group in the back. He just looked up. He's got like the raccoon eyes. And he was great. When he first came, his name is Buster. We thought, because he was so much littler than our other sheep, that he really wasn't going to be able, I don't know, we were skeptical about whether he was going to be able to get the job done. But honestly, he's been fantastic, and he has great temperament. He shed off completely. Like, they're kind of known for having no hoof issues. We've checked them regularly for parasites, and he's never had an issue. And actually, most of our sheep are very good about that, because we rotate them. Every once in a while, we might have one that has like a low immune system that seems to show a little bit of an issue, but we really have had no major issues at all with parasites since we first got them, like when they were babies. And then we specifically chose him because we wanted to bring better genetics into our flock. And all of our sheep, all of the first time moms that lambed within a 6-day window, with the exception of 2 first-time moms that had sets of twins. And so we weren't expecting that with the first timers, so that was actually a sign of like really good fertility. One of those moms ended up developing a respiratory infection and then seizing, and she died, and we are not 100% sure what the issue was with her. We did kind of everything we could figure out, and she kind of went down very fast. And interestingly enough, her baby was that bottle baby, Black Betty, who also after like a month of kind of just struggling, she ended up dying after a series of seizures as well. And so I don't know if that was a particular genetic thing or something else going on, but they those are our only losses for our first lambing season, and we kind of learned a lot through all of that. We had a very wet spring that can lead to kind of respiratory issues, and so we kind of learned a lot through that whole first year process. Other than that, all of our other lambs are doing great. You can see they're growing beautifully. They're getting nice and big. And that mom that died, her other baby that she had nursed for a week made the decision that she didn't want to be a bottle baby. And so this mom that's bleeding at me right here, this one, she decided, you're my mom. And so she's one of these little ones right there. And she said, you're going to be my mom. And so she's been raising these 2 twins, these 2 white ones. And she's been doing a great job. You can see how big they are. And then this, this is our troublemaker right here. This is Scooter, and she is by far our friendliest sheep, and she gave us the cutest little ewe baby that's nursing on her right now. And we call her S'mores. So Scooter and S'mores. But Scooter is very friendly, and she tends to be our escape artist. So her baby is proving to have a similar curious personality. But they're all doing well. You can see all the little babies. And this is our male, the one that's right here. We're going to use him one more time to breed our adult mamas, and then we're going to sell him because he's what would be considered a proven ram. And he caught up to the size of all of them. They're so noisy. And he's been wonderful. His temperament's great. He has all the signs of just like a really great ram. We haven't had really any issues with him at all. We were very, very happy. And we got him from a farm called Maplewood Acres in Missouri. And they were very, very, got shocked. They were excellent to deal with. So we really, really liked them. And you can see that he passed on his look to Scooter's baby. She's the one that looks like him the most. Of all of our sheep, though, we did realize, like our first year, that we have 2. So let me see. I always have a hard time doing it on the phone. This one, and actually this one's standing right next to me. Her. They did not breed, and so they did not give us any lambs, so they won't be staying in our flock, and they'll be going to freezer camp. And so we made the decision that we would have them processed so that we could have a really good sense of, like, first of all, we'd have good clean meat in our freezer. Our kids have a lot of food sensitivities that kind of led us to make some major lifestyle changes and led us to start a farm. But allowing us to have really good clean meat. They are like 100% pasture raised. The only time they ever get any grain is if they happen to get out like today, and we just use a couple scoops to bring them back to where they belong. They'll follow the bucket and just go back to the rest of the flock and go where they belong. But we also want to have a sense of what our meat that we're producing off the farm tastes like, and about how much we expect from each of these sheep. And so that way, if we're selling them in the future, we can just have a really good understanding of what we're producing. And so in some ways that's good. But for our first lambing season, that means that we only ended up with a total of We had 3 male rams, and then we have the male ram that obviously we bought, and then we will only have a remainder of 7 of our original sheep. So we have the 7 original sheep, and then we have 6 more female babies that we will end up keeping for our flock that will have all those good genetics from their dad and be bred up. So we only end up with 13 females when we started with 10, even though we ended up having 7 females that were born. 1 died, 6 we'll keep, and then we're getting rid of 2 of the original females and 1 passed away. So it doesn't seem like, you know, there's a lot more females. But that being said, it's a stronger flock. Like, so that was our hope, is that by the end of the year it would be a stronger flock. He's such a good boy. Usually Maisie or Bosco are in here with them, but Maisie, our female guardian dog, is in heat right now, and so we do not want her being bred. And to be honest, she just is miserable. She doesn't want to deal with the world, so she's hanging out in the house and just kind of getting through her heat cycle. And Bosco is keeping Stella, our crazy Bernedoodle, busy and watching over the farm in other areas, so he's actually right next. What is it? What is it? He's right next to here, and he'll probably come in later today. So that's how the sheep are doing. And then, so for any of you that are wondering how we rotate, so they go into a new paddock like this every day, and then we move them. Right now we're moving them along our fence line, so we use our fence, like our permanent fence, as one of the sides of where they are, and then we connect 200-foot long electric fences to that, and we use a solar charger. You're very noisy. You think I have something for you? I do not. And then we just move their water, and we give them a shade structure if they don't have a shade area. So right now, because it's just easier, Sean just fills up a couple of buckets of water and gives that to them. And the sheep don't drink as much water as like the cows do, and so that works out good for us. It gives a little bit more flexibility to where they're moved. And they obviously, like you can see, they're super well fed and healthy, and that's just on the grass, so they're doing great. What do you think, babe?
Things are going good.
Say it again.
I think things are going good. The fields are looking good. We got plenty of rain.
I know, it's been a completely different year for rain compared to
totally.
last year. Last year was a severe drought, and so I'm really, really happy with this year, you know, what we've been able to.
Yeah, grass is growing nice.
The grass is growing nice, and so Sean will do kind of as a system for, I'm stepping on a bucket, but he kind of has a system for how he reseeds the pasture. And so we did a few different things last year, but this seems to work out well, right? So
Right now I'm going behind the chickens.
Right, so we've reseeded our pasture a few times with different seasonal grasses, and then you can see, oh, sorry, I don't want to make you dizzy. So we've got our chicken tractors up here, and right now we have guinea hens and chickens in there.
And we're seeding with endophyte-free fescue and some.
Can you repeat that?
Endophyte-free fescue. That's what we're seeding behind the chickens right now, and turnips.
Okay, so right now we had a blend of so we're using like an endophyte-free fescue, he was saying, and some just seasonal turnips. We just
just some extra seed that we had lying around.
Right. So when he moves the chicken tractors, he'll just throw seed behind them, and then
because they've scratched it all up, fertilized it, and I put that down, and it just comes up great.
Right, and if it's dry, you'll run a sprinkler or something, just because
just
the
to
hose.
give it a quick start.
Right, and then it seems like it's doing great. And so if we are typically moving our cows and we need to reseed, if it's a type of seed that you sort of just want to broadcast over the you know, just reseed with everything else. We'll go behind the cows and just seed wherever they've been, because it's all just
Been worked up
and fertilized. But if it's something we want trampled more into the ground, we'll
Go
actually,
ahead of time.
yeah, we'll seed that right into the paddock that they're going into. And so when they go into that paddock, their hooves and everything help to trample it in a little bit more. And we did with our dairy cow also put seed in her feed, certain types of seed. And then we did notice that wherever she went to the bathroom, that we got seed coming up in those areas as well. So that's an option. But we don't
We're getting a good variety.
yeah, so far our pastures look good, which is wonderful. So do you want to walk over and show them the chickens and the beef cows, how they're doing?
Sure.
Okay, come with us. So I'm going to flip you around. This is something I do like about our new phone. So I'll show you what I mean by, so this is actually, Sean, can you show me where like your feet are? This is all pasture that our cows have already been in. And you can see that it's still it's good pasture. And it should grow back really well. Everything seems to be recovering really well from when they were just in here.
We might try to get a hay in.
We might actually try to hay one time before the fall.
Just 1/3.
Hi, Houdini. Here's Gus. Gus has such personality, that dog. Okay, so this is where our chicken tractors have been. We're just kind of running them in this direction now. And I'm going to walk over. This is where they were how long ago? A week ago. So this is where they were a week ago, as they came all the way down this way.
This area, you can see where they were.
Okay.
This is a week ago, that's probably 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so Sean's saying this was a week ago, and then that was like down there, so it was about 2 weeks ago. But you can see everything he seeded growing up right behind it. And you can almost not really tell that the chickens were there. And then this is them about a week later. This is what it looks like behind them. But by the time they get all the way to the tree line over there, this will all be grown back. And because we have our hoses, we don't have a permanent watering system out in the fields yet, but because we have our hoses kind of going all the way down our lane, Sean will just disconnect it, and if he needs to throw a sprinkler like this one, you know, wherever the chickens have been, it kind of just gives a jump start.
Go get a bucket of feed that I made.
Oh, okay. So we are having an issue with some foxes. So because of that, we've been keeping our chickens inside their chicken tractors and just moving them daily. These are our newest ones. We hatched out all these little chicks and chickens from our incubators, the kids in the house, so they hatched out a whole bunch more chickens and guinea hens. And so those are our new guineas, and just our backyard mix. And so because these are laying hens, we do have nest boxes in the back, but they are not old enough to lay yet. These are our other hens and guineas. You can see they're a little bit bigger. And they need to move today, so you can see like they've kind of dug up and eaten up everything that was in there their area. And this is like the John Siskovich style chicken tractor, and it's worked out really well for us. What I would say after using it for about a year now is, for us, because of the weather that we get here, I would say expect to replace these tarps on top yearly. You could build a more solid top, but that is going to add weight to it, and so just kind of keep that in mind. And so I'll just kind of show you how we move them every day. So we use an organic mix of grain. So this was this had water in it, so this is like a fermented grain. It gets all swollen and it looks like this, like all, it soaks up all the water and makes it more nutrient available. And so we just throw that into the area where we're going to be moving them. And typically, if we didn't have the fox issue, we would either have an electric netting fence around them, which does work really well, or we would just move them into an area where the cows are going to be. And that works out really well because then they pick through all their manure patties and everything.
I'll go grab the water.
Okay, so you can see that if he throws the seed down first and moves it, he can go in and the birds don't all fly out. They're preoccupied eating. And then he can go in and grab the water. So some people will have like a hanging water system or another water system, but we honestly just use like a use a 5-gallon bucket and a pan, and we just move it towards the front of their tractor. We just wash it out and refill this. And this bucket has holes drilled into the top of it, so when it flips over into that pan, as soon as the water rises above those holes, it stops it from coming out. And that works really well. Let me get the eggs.
Oh, I don't want that egg.
Oh, he'll go back in. So usually if they get the routine, like even if one comes out, they know the food's in there and they'll just kind of go back in. Hi, Gussie. You gotta be in the middle of everything.
Finish the move.
So you just finish moving it like one tractor length forward, and then we just put the water back in there and flip it upside down, and they have clean water again. He's doing the same thing on this side. They're smaller, so they don't take quite as much feed. And there are wheels in the back of the chicken tractors. That make it easier to move. But if you do have smaller birds, like, so our guineas in here are kind of small because they're, how old are they, Sean? Not even 2 months. They're not even 2 months old. So they're about a month, maybe a month and a half. So if we leave those wheels on the back of this tractor, if you have a smaller bird, they can slip out, and you have the potential of something getting into the chicken tractor. But honestly, if you just take the wheels off, we have not had an issue with predators getting into these tractors, even when we know that there's predators around. So you get this little gap in the back. So you do want to take the wheels off. Did you move it forward all the way?
Huh?
Did you move it forward all the way?
Yep.
Okay, so you can see you just unscrew them and just sort of leave the wheels with the tractor. And all you do is undo a bolt, slide them off, and then it sits on the ground flatter. And then they're protected. They don't get out. They stay where they're safe. And then you can see that this is all they've fertilized really thoroughly, this whole area. We would normally move them. Oh, and then this is what he does right afterwards. He just throws seed where they've been. And that's it. And then by the time they're done, we've kind of reseeded this whole area. You also have the option, like, so our sheep moved all the way down here, and now they're kind of rounding the corner, and they are where they are right now. We could have moved our chicken tractors right behind them into the pens where they were and just been like right behind the sheep. But we fertilized all that area really thoroughly last year with our chicken tractors, so we just wanted to do a different part of our pasture. And so that's why we're choosing to do it this way instead of following the sheep. But if we had either more chicken tractors or if we wanted to follow them, that's a really good option too, because then your cows go first and then your sheep and then your chickens. And if you really want to do something, you can throw your pigs like in there too, behind the chickens, behind the sheep. So, but this is working out well for us. And we do hope to get some more chicken tractors going. And you could do the same thing with meat birds. I would not recommend doing more than 25 birds, would you say, per tractor?
No, no more than that.
I wouldn't do more than that. We've done more than that, and it's okay, but it's too crowded, and you end up having to move them more frequently, and just for the health of the animals, 25 seems to be around an ideal number, give or take. It's going to seem like there's a lot more room when they're younger, but as they get older, that works for us. And then also, so like I said, we just used some bins that we got from the hardware store that we had for storage, and we use those for nest boxes, and that's fine, but you could put regular nest boxes on the back here. And then we attached we actually split, what was it, Sean?
These are 2x3s.
Oh, these are 2x3s. So we put 2x3s across here so that our laying hens will roost on it at night. And actually, sometimes it's really easy to move the chicken coops at night because everybody's just up on the roosts. So there's times where we do that too. So if you were like getting home from work or something and you only had time to move your animals at night, it's pretty easy at night because everybody's just all sleeping and you just move them forward. And then these are a little bit different because these are a 2x4 that he just ripped in half down the middle, so you can see the roosts are like this. And both work.
Use what you have.
Use what you have, that's right. Want to go see the cows? So we don't use... Oh, that's right, because yesterday was Sunday. So lately at this time of the year, it's been so hot that we move them at night. But yesterday was Sunday, and so we don't do them on Sunday. And so they are ready to move. You can see our hay bales from last year are in our field for our lane, and I don't know. Somebody's building something. There's some bees over there.
Swarm?
I don't know. There's like a lot of bee activity there. I'll call Kim because her neighbors are beekeepers. So these are just on pieces of wood, and I know that there's other ways that we could cover them, but these are our hay bales that when it comes to this year, yeah, they're on old cedar fence posts just to be up off the ground, but when we unroll them, we can just unroll them into the lane where they are. We were so blessed by a friend's gift of a tractor to us, and it made moving hay bales 500 million times easier because for the first year we were moving everyone by hand. And you can see that even when we're pasturing our cows in an area where there's hay, we just use a few of the pigtail posts and we just do an electric wire around them, and they seem to leave it alone. So this is kind of a little bit of a skinnier lane, but these are our beefy girls. They are due to their South Pole, and they are due to calve in about 2.5 months. So right between October 31st and the third week of November, depending on which heat cycle they were in when they got pregnant. So we have it on the calendar that sometime between Halloween and Thanksgiving we should be expecting babies from them. And so because of that, we wanted to wean off our beef steer, Buddy, and our little dairy heifer has already been weaned from our dairy cow, but we've been doing something called fence line weaning. And so if you can see, there's just an electric fence that goes down the middle, and they still feel like they're part of the herd. They're still close to the mom, and we have had a lot of luck with that so far. Buddy was already trained to an electric wire, so he's really respected that, and we just put the mineral tub between the two lines, and then a lot of times we'll just put the waters between them as well. And so they do feel really close to the larger herd, but they seem to be less stressed out. At least this was our first year, our first attempt, and he's doing great. So what we are doing right now for our first year is we take the babies, we take the younger ones, and we move them ahead to the next paddock that they are due to go into, and I'll show you how we string it. So they will go here. These ones come into the paddock where they were because they don't eat very much compared to the adults. And then everybody seems to do great with that. They're doing wonderful. So Sean's just grabbing some fence posts we have, and you're lucky because we didn't actually we didn't have the next paddock strung up today, so you get to see exactly how long it takes if you have to do the whole thing. Our hope is that down the line we will have a permanent lane set up here with rows of posts on either side that we can walk through and bring machines and stuff through. But this has been working really well for us. When we do that lane, we're strongly considering using timeless. Well, actually this will be all electric high tensile wire. But for right now, we're just using a PVC non-insulated post over our T-posts that's driven into the field. You see, like, that's just a bare T-post, and so we just slide this over the top of it, and then we just use our like one of the white step-in posts, and we hook onto that. There's a zip tie there, like a strong zip tie. And so these particular paddocks are, for us, they're about 25 feet apart, and they're about a little over 300 feet long. And so Sean will just walk that to the end and clip it, and on his way back he'll put the fence posts in, and it'll be ready for the next cows to go into. Today's kind of nice because we've had some rain and it's cooled some things off, but it's been super hot some of the other days, so we don't really like to do this in the afternoon when it's like 100, 102, although we have done it. Houdini. What is it? Houdini. Oh my goodness, she's always here. So he clips at the end, and then he'll tighten it up, and it straightens the line out. So we don't put our step-in posts until we're coming back. And a lot of times the kids will come out, they're used to this routine, they'll do it too. But when it's really hot or it's like high tick season, we don't always want them out here in the long grass. So we just do it. Because we've had rain, that's a really good time to put your fence posts in. So if you're doing temporary fence posts and you've ever done this before, you know that especially here in Missouri, the soil is a lot more rocky and clay-like. And so if it is a very dry season or a cold season, like when the ground is frozen, it can be really hard to get these fence posts in. And so when it's like this after a rain, if the temperature is nice, a lot of times we will set up just like a whole bunch of posts all the way down. So he just steps in and clips it. And so that's all done. That's how long it takes to set up a new paddock for us. And then Sean's gonna just get ready to string around this hay bale. So all he does is put a couple of the pigtail posts in, because we don't want them to eat this. And then we'll just use an extra line and tie it around it. You can electrify it, I recommend it, but if your cows are really trained to polywire, a lot of times they won't touch it even if it's not electrified. So he's gonna just string an extra line around that, and then he'll just clip it right here on the post. Yeah, why don't you move them? You can see that we put our waterers right underneath the line. Come on, Molly. So for those of you that saw them when they were born, this is our little dairy girl who's Tilly's baby. And she's getting big. She'll be a year next month. Come on, Molly.
Go ahead, buddy. Up you go. Up.
And so they're a month apart. Buddy's actually a month older than her. And
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
we would wait until he's probably about 15 to 18 months to process, but they both look wonderful. They're doing great. And they just move right on into the next paddock, and they'll be there till tomorrow. And then the beefy girls know what's happening. They know it's their turn, so they just get up and they get ready typically. We unplug the electric charger or turn it off, and then they're ready to move. So this is
2060.
2060, and the one with the white face, we call her Auntie Cow, that's in the back. They were actually sold to us as open heifers. They didn't breed their first season. And then this one here, this beautiful cow, this is Buddy's. This is his mother. We call her Rosie. She's got a beautiful udder, and she's just a great cow. She's about 8 or 9 years old, 1449, and she gave us this beautiful calf last year. So because these two were sold to us as open heifers, we actually bought them with the intention of just raising them for beef, but they were here when our bull was here, and we've noticed, like, with them getting minerals and just kind of being in a smaller herd, that they cycled regularly and they've been doing really well. So we have a really good suspicion that they may have bred and they will also give us at least one calf out of them. And so in that sense, I would never sell them or their calves as if they were like a registered full-blood South Pole or like even a 50% South Pole, because South Poles are known for, like what she did, excellent fertility. They calve every season. They're excellent moms. They do really, really well and hold their condition on grass alone. They can do well on fescue, which can cause some problems with other cows. They just they're really acclimated to the temperature here. They don't seem to get as stressed by it. They have a lot of benefits. And so I would not sell their calves as if they were a registerable South Pole, but we would be sure very happy if we got another beef steer out of one of them or got a little heifer for our own herd, because if we got a heifer, it would have that 50% genetics from the father, who was a really excellent full-blood registered South Pole, and we would probably breed that heifer and keep breeding that one up to very good genetics, and at that point, after a few generations, see if that great fertility is passed on, and at that point we would consider their offspring to be a better bet. But so far we have been really, really pleased with this particular breed, and you can see that everybody's just kind of munching away. They look wonderful. They're in great condition, and they don't get anything other than the grass, water, and minerals. And they will be in this paddock until tomorrow, and we move just like that every day. So a lot of times the lines are set up ahead of time. And like I said, if it's like this where the ground is really easy to get the posts in, a lot of times we'll take a day where we just set up a whole bunch of lines going forward for a week or sometimes even 2 weeks, and that makes it very easy to just walk out and open the gate every day and move over the waters, and they do wonderful. Here's Miss Molly. Hi, beautiful girl. How are you doing? How are you doing? You're a good girl. You're a good girl. Molly's very friendly. She's very, very sweet. And we're really hoping for a great dairy cow out of her someday. I've sent off her tail hairs to test for milk protein. So sometimes you'll hear the term A1 and A2. So your cows have different, that's a whole other longer conversation, but we are hoping for what they call an A2 calf out of, like, we're hoping that she's A2. So we pull the tail hairs out of the end of her tail, and it still has, like, you know, that tip attached to that, and that gets sent off for testing to California, and they're able to tell if her milk protein content is that A2 milk, which is more easily digestible, causes less inflammation, and is more close to like the human breast milk, like human milk, or like a goat's milk. They're all A2. So that's what we're hoping for from her. So I'll let you know in the future if that's what it is, and I'll explain it a little bit further. So Sean's going to get another reel. But what we would do then is we would just see these two electric solar chargers. This could all be set up to, a more permanent charger, but we don't have that all set up yet. And so this has worked for us. And I think in some ways it's worked for us because the cows that we got were already electric wire trained, and then the babies became electric wire trained too. So this solar charger charges the battery in this, and then this green line you can hook to a ground rod. We just use our T-post as our ground rod, but an actual ground rod would probably be better. And then we connect the red line to whatever line we're trying to electrify. So we just will move that over, and when you clip it on, it'll tell you if it's in the green that it's hot. And then this line is electrified now. So we're just going to move that over, and we will put one in between the babies, and then we'll also put one on the other side of the babies. We don't usually do one on the back side of the girls because they don't want to go backwards where they've already grazed. They want to go forward where the best grass is. And so we don't typically have an issue with them testing the back wire. You could actually in some ways remove it and they really won't go back too much and graze where they were before. They want to be moving forward into that fresh green grass. Babe, do you have one to use for the hay bale? You're gonna use that one? Okay. So the only part they're not grazing is right around the hay bale. And they get everything else. And if you wanted to electrify it, you would just use what's called a jumper cable.
And we probably will.
So Sean will show you what that looks like for any of you that are trying to see how that works. What is it, Houdini? She's got to be in everything. She's what we call a dog cat because she's just has to constantly be wherever you are. When we first started fence line weaning, we did string 2 lines for the cows, so they really weren't tempted to go back where their moms were. And he really was on his mom for a good amount of time. So he was born last October and it's August now, so I know some won't keep them on that long, but just due to life circumstances we did. And then we wanted to wean him while she was preparing for her next baby. So he's doing what I said, where he clipped that green clip on the back of the T-post, and then he clipped the red clip on the wire that we want to be electrified, and then instead of using a jumper cable, he just actually wrapped the wire that's around the fence and made sure that part of it was touching this wire, because it'll just turn on the electric current in this wire, so they won't go anywhere near that hay bale. And then can you show how you do this one again?
Oh, well. The whole thing?
Yeah, just move over the electric charger.
I was going to leave that one there. Huh?
No.
Oh, no, we'll move it. Yeah, 'cause we're not going to go backwards.
Right. He was just saying the same thing. He's like, oh, they're not going to go backwards. We don't need to leave it.
On there.
Can you turn it on?
And what we'll do is while we're filling the waters, we'll make sure we wet this post really good so it.
Yes. So if you have, especially if you have dry ground, like if your ground has been really dry, if you haven't had a lot of rain or something,
The chargers don't work that good.
the chargers won't work as good because it needs that moisture from the ground to conduct better. So we will, while we're filling the waters for the cows, we'll actually just take the hose and we'll leave it right here running at the fence post that we want to get hotter, and we'll let it get really soaked in that area of the ground so that it makes the charger work better. And then this is our very fancy way of moving our minerals. We actually just use what is that called?
Dolly.
A dolly. So we'll clip a jumper cable onto that wire, and then we'll connect it to our lane wire. So now this whole lane is on as well. So the whole area where the cows are is electrified, and that's been working great for us. So we just leave our fancy dolly out in the field. That one's off. Oh, this one you mean? So he just picks up the mineral feeder, slides it onto the dolly, and then we just move it to the next paddock. And he'll usually put it between, you're going to put it between these two. And so, yeah, he's saying make sure you turn this off, because if you don't, and you have a metal dolly and you touch that wire with the metal dolly and you're holding on to it, you'll get a good jolt. So you want to make sure you turn it off before you move your minerals. And that's it. Just turn it back on. So now that they can both access it, and that's it. How's that?
Done deal.
Okay, so what are your thoughts here? I'm just asking out of curiosity.
What is it?
Okay. So we're sweaty. What are your thoughts on moving cows versus moving sheep after doing this for a year?
Cows are a lot easier.
Cows are a lot easier. So I do really like what having multi-species grazing, like having multiple different animals grazing on your land, does to your land. It really benefits it. It's great. It is so much easier to move cows. Like we've said it so many times, we're like, give us cows all day. They're just so much easier. And sheep are just, they're not impossible to move. They're actually not really that bad, but they are harder to move, and just kind of like they need more lines, or they need more things to keep them in. They tend to escape more. Yeah. And I think goats are even worse.
That's why we'll never have goats.
I have no desire. Don't say never, but we have enough escape artists and 6 little children keeping us busy. We don't need goats as well. But that being said, there's a lot of benefits to grazing more than one species on your land at the same time. And we love the way it's working out. But yeah, cows are way easier to move than sheep.
I love moving the cows.
Yeah, me too. And I will say, I do feel like we did the multiple lines, like a polywire in the beginning, and
for the sheep.
But I think because, like, that might have worked for Buster, like the one that we got, because he was really respectful of the polywire. He was very well trained to it. But our sheep
I think where he came from, their wires were a lot hotter than ours.
Yes, and so he just wouldn't touch it. Like, and so because he didn't have just like the solar charger wires, he had a much hotter fence system, and he was trained to that really young. And so I noticed he and some of the other ones were just really respectful of it. They just hated getting shocked. And then we had other ones that, you know, they didn't come from a herd where they were, how hot wire trained, and so we were the first ones doing that, and they
didn't get it.
some of them didn't get it, and then they taught the other ones not to get it. So when they say if you have a sheep that's, tests your wires, get rid of them, we understand where they're coming from. We just didn't have, the financial ability to just switch everything. I will say having the electric netting fence has worked.
Helped a lot more.
It helped a lot. It worked a lot better. And it's probably comparable, if not easier to move, would you say? Depends where it is in the field.
Yeah.
So we have some parts that are like really rocky and hilly, and when we had to just keep undoing multiple wires, that was kind of a pain, right? Especially when it was the drought.
The drought, yeah.
Oh, that was rough. And then it just wouldn't.
But those would probably be rough too.
Yeah. So
because the ground gets so hard. It's like concrete.
Right. So we have some ideas for going forward for making things easier for ourselves. And we'll kind of share some of those ideas and thoughts with you as time goes on. But sometimes you just got to do it and then learn what works for you and your farm, what your land is like, what your ground is like. And
yeah, I'm glad we didn't jump right in and start putting fences up all over the place, because we didn't really know exactly where we'd want to put them right from the get-go. But we're learning as we go, and we pretty much know where we want them now.
Right. And so as much as like...
Year and a half in.
Yeah. We've you kind of learn trial and error. And we had a lot of new animals at once. So I think a lot of people, they're wise to say, just do one thing at a time and do it really well, and then just learn from that. We do feel like we've learned a lot this year. We learned which animals we like better. We've kind of learned through our mistakes, and sort of that's just how you learn when you're doing anything. And we've made plenty of mistakes.
Yeah.
But we've learned a lot through that whole process, and I feel like we have a system that is a lot smoother now and more manageable. Even just knowing what times of the day to do your chores when the seasons change. So it's like what we're doing now during the summer, we would do at a completely different time of the day during the winter. And also just learning, okay, if you're getting a rainstorm and you haven't been able to get your fence posts in, go out there after that fence storm and drive your posts for after the rain for a few days. Oh my gosh, just do it for a few days and watch the weather forecast. So if you're going to be getting rain throughout the week, it's going to make it a lot easier to move your fence posts. And nobody would think that beforehand. I think unless we'd done it when it's dry, you wouldn't realize how beneficial it is. And so even for us, things like they talk about these really expensive reels, they are great and solid with some things, but you can very easily get set up with a less expensive reel that's made for an electrical cord that costs you can buy 8 for the cost of one really good reel, and then just save up for the good reels and replace them from time to time. But I'd rather set up a whole bunch of lanes of fencing with less expensive reels and get them all set up than feel like I have to spend $80 or $90 on a reel for every single fence line I'm setting up. That gets really expensive. So you don't have to do that to have it work out well. Right, and your animals aren't going to test your fences as much if they have food to get to. So if they are in a paddock and they're being well fed,
make sure you move them
before
they run out of food.
Yeah, don't graze your pastures down to the point where they are looking at all the lush pastures around them and they're I'm going to go there. And
then they're going to test your fencing.
Right. And so that's when we get more escapes happening, is when we've delayed moving somebody or something. Then you end up with issues where they just want to get out because they're trying to get fed, so it makes sense. So that's just the sheep, the cows, and the chicken tractors that are out in our regular pasture. But we got a lot more going on the farm.
We do.
So I'll probably save that for another video because this one got kind of long. But we are all fine. I will do another video soon kind of explaining what's been going on here on Full and Family Farm, some of our challenges and what we've learned over the last year and a half, and then just some of the other chores and things that we do on a regular basis. What do you want to say?
We miss you all.
We do miss you. We love you all. So for any of our family members and friends, sorry if it's windy, watching back home, we love you. And you know, these videos are for you mainly. You know, it's for other people watching our farm that are looking at first-year farmers that have no experience. You know, we came from the city, from a third of an acre of land. You know, we have learned how city we are in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think some of our
Some crazy things, but
but I do think that some of our neighbors have been really surprised at how somebody with no farming experience. Oh, you're getting zapped. People with no farming experience and a lot of desire to do it, you can do it, you know, so don't feel like you have to be born into it to do it, but just
no,
you don't. You can learn just like everybody else learns. And
you learn the hard way a lot.
School hard knocks. But you'll learn better that way, you know, yeah. And I think our kids have been able to see us be really courageous and learning and trying new things, and you just have to, you know, adapt and overcome, right?
That's right.
So we are very grateful for the opportunities that we've been given here to be able to do this for our family, and we're learning along the way. And we've been particularly blessed with really wonderful neighbors and wonderful friends here that have helped us along the way. I mean, just the people in this area are really,
really
wonderful. Nice. We're so grateful for them. So, but we do these for you, and we do these for people that are learning so that they can see through our mistakes and see that it is possible. You have to know it's possible, but you also have to be prepared to put in hard work and be prepared to learn from your mistakes and be prepared to make mistakes. Like, you can't go in as a new farmer or a new person doing this and be like, I know everything, or I've learned everything and I'm not going to make any mistakes. You have to expect to, and you can't be arrogant when you're going up against people that have done it a long time another way. And even if you think that your way is better, you don't go up to people and act like, you know, we know better, because we, you know, it's just not going to go over well. So just expect that you have something to learn from everybody. And
it's not as easy as it looks either.
No, you got to do it. It's not as easy as it looks on YouTube. You have to actually just expect it's going to be hard. You know, we kind of joked about it. We weren't unfamiliar with like really humid summers or cold winters, you know, or anything like that. But we weren't farmers while we were experiencing that in New England. You know, we were not farmers. So you have to be like, you just expect to get your butt kicked. Like, and if you expect it, you'll be fine. Like, so.
Exactly.
So, anyhow.
That being said, God be with all yous, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yes. Like, subscribe, and share to Full and Family Farm.